everyone, we're entering February 2026 with a focus on ancestral weight release. Last month we looked at our own personal emotional burdens, but this month we're going deeper into the foundation. We're looking at legacy, we're looking at ancestors or bloodline, the emotional carryovers we inherited from our ancestors. And that bloodline includes our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, and further up in the family tree. So, before we look at the cards, I want to spend a moment on the concept of emotional honesty. Releasing stress or heavy pattern is not about blaming or pressuring yourself or others. It's simply about coming to the awareness that while we cannot always control every factor, everything in our reality, we can, however, decide how we will be affected by them. So, as you practice this awareness and become less triggered by certain situations or people, your perception of your world begins to transcend those old reactions. So, this is especially true when we talk about ancestral burden, ancestral trauma. It can be convenient to say that our parents or our grandparents are the ones to blame for the patterns that we carry, but looking for a culprit doesn't actually address the core issues. I think that we can all agree when we realize that they are simply doing the best that they could with the tools, their social environments, their social economic status, and the programming they were given. We can then let go of the need for blame. So, from a higher perspective, we're all connected as a collective. When you decide to respond to these inherited triggers in a more harmonious way, you are not just changing yourself, you're also opening a door for transcendence for the whole line. So, um, that was just something that I wish to instill in this reading before we talk about each card. And also, I want to remind you that this is a timeless reading. So if you found this later, trust the resonance, and let's look at the cards. So I'm still using my Fortune Oracle cards. This is a deck that I've designed to help you connect with the behaviors in your animals and the lessons that they are teaching you or they are reflecting in you. So let's look at the cards that we have here. So we have the first position one is the bucking truth. This is a horse that's showing resistance or stress or discomfort, and it is with the crystal amethyst. The second position has the card the shedding light. This is the gecko trying to shed the old skin, and the stone is the crystal is the sunstone. The third position we have echoes at night. This is a cat yowling at night, and then we have the moonstone. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into each walkthrough. All right, so we are looking at the first card. This is for those of you who chose amethyst as the crystal, and the 21st card in the deck, the bucking truth. So a horse bucks when there is discomfort with their maybe saddle or other gears because they don't fit. So if we put that in the context of ancestral burden or an ancestral trauma or weight, then we can think of this as like family expectations. And numerologically, 21 can be reduced to the number 3, which is the frequency of self-expression and communication. So I would interpret this card as an indication that the core of the ancestral issue is a blockage of a blockage of communication, self-expression, suppressed expression. So your resistance or the horse resistance, which is reflecting what's going on with you, is that your voice is trying to break through a family pattern of um, maybe silence because you're trying to speak up. But then there is this silence that is like a survival mechanism in your family, in your ancestry. And it's a way to stay safe in a time when speaking up is has been dangerous for them. So when you are resisting, fighting against this inherited suppression, you are essentially trying to rewrite the legacy code of your bloodline to prove that it's now safe to be heard, that you create your own safety, and you're going to be honest with your truth, with how you're feeling, and you're going to clear the path so that the unexpressed grief of those who came before you no longer has to sit heavy on your shoulders. And amethyst provides the clarity to stop skipping over the discomfort of suppressing your emotions, suppressing your truth. So, breaking the silence means being honest about what no longer fits. And you're encouraged to, affirm to yourself that you are releasing the burdens that are not yours to carry anymore, and you are safe to speak your truth. So, card number one, that's all I have for you today. And thank you for joining me. And until next time, bye bye. So, card number two, we have the 25th card in the deck called Shedding Light, and we have the Crystal Sunstone. So, this is a gecko struggling to shed its skin. And the way that I read it is that the ancestral trauma is like the old skin that is reinforced by time and space. And the number 25 can be reduced to 7. And 7 in this case, we can think of it as like an introspection, like looking into the inner truth of your family tree. So this tells us that this shedding requires deep internal processing. This is not a fast outward change. It requires patience, and it requires you working in harmony with both your analytical mind and also your intuition and higher wisdom. You're digging into the why of your family history to find the truth that would set you free. And the old skin you're shedding is, I feel it is fear, like deep rooted fear or rigidity that was passed down as a way to protect the family from past pain. But this could be anything that is deep rooted, and you are trying to dig through the survival mechanisms to reach the truth of it all. But my feeling is that this would be like fear or rigidity, and fear is often a way that our ego protects us from experiencing the pain again, but then it creates limitations for us. And what you're doing here is that you're going to transmute this heavy protective layers. Oops, sorry, that's my cat. So what you're going to be doing is that you're going to transmute this heavy protective layers into a lighter, more flexible foundation, so that the generations after you, they can have their own lives without the friction of a past that they've never experienced or they've never lived. And the sunstone is a crystal that brings warmth, that is needed to soften the stuck energies. So you're reminded to be gentle with yourself as you peel away layers that have been there for decades or longer. And you're encouraged to remind yourself that you are patient with your healing and you are shedding the old layers of your lineage with grace and ease. So, card number two, that's all I have for your reading. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, bye bye. So card number 3, we have here for you echoes at night and also the moonstone. So this is a cat that is already in its senior stage, and it's yowling at night, and the indication is, well, how I read into this card is that it hears shifts in the environment that we are overlooking. So in your family history, these could be like signs or signals that are unresolved emotional echoes that are still vibrating in your subconscious. And 33, the card number, is a master number. So we can think of it as the frequency of mastery through compassion, like a higher level of compassion. And it represents like this higher wisdom and responsibility to hold space for both the past and future. And this indicates that your task is self attunement. You are learning to listen to the difference between a warning from the past, from your family's history, and the higher guidance from your higher self for your future. So, by refining your attunement, by not living according to the the warnings, quote unquote, from the past or from your bloodline, but listening to your higher guidance and understanding the patterns of your bloodline with compassion, you are allowing these patterns to finally find their resting place. It's like the ghosts from the past, and they are finally able to rest in peace. They the unresolved uncertainty no longer play a part, or at least the level of intensity would be reduced if you do this work, so that the unresolved pain from the past no longer dictates how you live your current life. And the moonstone here is to help you clear the static from the past. And you're encouraged to make this affirmation if you feel called to, that you can hear your own intuition with clarity, and you are clearing the static noise from the past. And that's my cat again. Sorry about that. So card number 3, that's all I have for your reading for today, and thank you for joining me. Until next time, bye bye.